What would you do if you found a letter hidden in your home, one written years ago with your name on it, and a truth that could shatter everything you believe about your past? You'd never imagine who wrote this letter, and neither did I. 17 years of silence, 17 years of questions, all broken by a single name at the end of a page. If you've ever kept a secret, if you've ever buried a memory so deep you swore it would never surface again, stay with me. This is not just a story about discovery. It's about the moment a person realizes that the truth they feared might be the only thing that can set them free. The letter was found inside an old drawer that hadn't been opened in almost 2 decades. It was covered in dust, the paper fragile, as if time itself wanted to erase what was written. I didn't recognize the handwriting at first, but my hands began to shake before I even unfolded it. Sometimes, your body knows the truth before your mind does. Inside that folded paper was a confession, a message from the one person I thought had disappeared forever, a family secret, a shocking truth, a plea for forgiveness written in ink that had long dried, but still burned when I read it. There's a kind of silence that lives in homes with history. You can feel it in the walls, in the air, in the way the floor creaks under your feet. It's not just emptiness, it's memory. Every old photograph hides a story we never told. Every object carries echoes of a moment when things changed. And that's what this letter was, a doorway to a truth I didn't know I was ready for. I thought I had moved on. I thought I had healed. But when I saw my name written in those faded lines, I felt 17 again, angry, broken, waiting for answers that never came. I need you to understand something before we go any further. This isn't just about me. It's about anyone who's ever lost someone without getting the chance to say what needed to be said. Anyone who's ever prayed for closure, forgiveness, or even one more minute of honesty. Maybe that's you. Maybe you've got your own version of this letter somewhere, hidden in a box, or a memory you refuse to open. But tonight, we're going to open mine together, and I promise, what's inside will change how you see your own story. Because sometimes the truth doesn't come to hurt you. Sometimes it comes to heal what you didn't even know was still broken. Before we unfold it, I want to ask you to do one thing. Hit subscribe, not for me, but for the stories we're going to read together, the unsent letters that people like you and me carry inside. Every week we open another one, and every time we do, someone finds healing, forgiveness, or faith again. If this already feels close to your heart, tap like. It's not just a button, it's a signal to the algorithm to show this story to someone who might need it tonight. Because trust me, there's someone out there right now who feels exactly like I did. Lost. Holding on to silence, waiting for a sign. I didn't expect mine to come in the form of an old envelope. I didn't expect that opening it would feel like reliving everything I'd spent years trying to forget. But that's the thing about truth. It doesn't wait for permission. It arrives when it's ready, and sometimes it doesn't knock gently. So stay with me, because in just a few seconds, we're going to read what's written inside. We're going to uncover who wrote it, and when you hear the name at the end, you'll understand why some secrets are never meant to stay hidden. I avoided that drawer for years. It sat there in the corner of the room like a silent witness, untouched, heavy with memories I'd buried under layers of time. Every time I walked past it, I felt something, a small pull, a whisper in the back of my mind telling me that not everything was as forgotten as I wanted it to be. The room still smelled like rain and old wood, that mixture of dust and nostalgia that belongs only to homes that have seen too many seasons and too many goodbyes. I had told myself I was done with the past, that whatever was left inside that drawer didn't matter anymore. But the truth is, the past has a way of waiting. It waits quietly until you're weak enough, or maybe strong enough, to open it again. That night, I couldn't sleep. The rain hit the roof in steady rhythm, each drop sounding like a knock on a locked door. And that's when I finally got up. I walked toward that drawer as if something unseen was guiding me. My fingers hesitated on the handle, cold metal against my skin. And when I pulled it open, the hinges groaned like the house itself was waking up. Inside there were old photographs, a watch that no longer ticked, a few folded papers yellowed with age. But beneath it all, hidden under a layer of forgotten dust, was an envelope. It was darker around the edges, almost burned, as if someone had tried to destroy it, but couldn't go through with it. My name was written on the front, just my name. No date, no address. The handwriting was familiar but older, shakier. For a moment my throat closed, my chest tight. I didn't need to open it to know it would change everything. My hands shook as I held it, and for the first time in years, I heard my own heartbeat louder than the storm outside. Every part of me wanted to put it back, close the drawer, pretend I hadn't seen it. But curiosity mixed with fear is a powerful thing. It pushes you forward even when your instincts tell you to run. When I tore the envelope open, a faint scent of smoke and old paper filled the air. The letter was handwritten, the ink slightly faded but still legible. The first line stopped me cold. "If you're reading this, forgive me." I read it twice, as if the meaning might change, but it didn't. Those 5 words were heavy, alive, and they hit harder than any argument or goodbye ever had. Forgive me. The phrase echoed in my head, over and over. Whoever wrote it knew what they'd done, knew it would hurt. And yet, they wrote it anyway. My mind started racing. Who was it? My mother? My father? Someone else from the years that shaped me? The years that left scars I still carry? It felt impossible that this letter could have survived all this time. The handwriting pulled me back in time, to long nights waiting for answers, to the grief that never quite settled. There was something hauntingly personal about every curve of the letters. The way the pen pressed harder on certain words, as if they'd been written through tears. I could almost see the hand trembling as it wrote. The air in the room changed. It felt heavier, thicker, charged with the weight of memory. I sat down on the floor with the letter in my lap, the light from the small lamp casting long shadows that moved with the flicker of the bulb. Outside, the rain kept falling, steady and relentless, like time itself refusing to stop. I felt grief rising inside me, the kind that doesn't come from one moment, but from all the ones you never dealt with. I whispered the words out loud. Forgive me. They sounded foreign and familiar all at once. Somewhere deep down, I knew this was more than a letter. This was the start of something I wasn't ready for. A journey back into the truth I'd been avoiding. A confrontation with the person I once was, and with the person who'd written these words. And as I stared at that first line, I realized that forgiveness isn't something you give once. It's something you learn to live with, one heartbeat, one word, one memory at a time. The handwriting isn't hers. The curves, the pressure of the pen, the rhythm of each letter, it's all wrong. My heart sinks as I realize that the person who wrote this isn't the one I blamed for years. It's someone else, someone I've spent a lifetime trying to forget. I stare at the ink, tracing every line as if understanding the shape of the words might somehow prepare me for what's coming next. But nothing can, because at the end of the letter, below words soaked in regret and time, there's a name I prayed I'd never see again. The name at the end, the one that followed me through my childhood like a shadow, the one I ran from, but never really escaped. It's him, my father, the man who disappeared without saying goodbye, who left behind a silence that raised me louder than his voice ever did. My chest tightens, the air feels thinner, and for a moment I can't tell if I'm angry, broken, or just lost. My eyes move back to the words above the signature, and I read them again, slower this time. He writes about fear, about mistakes, about truths that were kept hidden, not out of cruelty, but out of what he calls protection. Protection from what? From him? From the truth itself? Each sentence cuts deeper than the last. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I couldn't face what I had done. The ink looks darker on those lines, pressed harder into the paper, as if he wanted me to feel the weight of his guilt. And I do. Every word pulls me back to nights when I waited for footsteps that never came, to birthdays spent staring at the door, pretending I didn't care that it stayed closed. The hidden truth I carried for years was that I missed him, even when I told myself I didn't, that I built my anger as armor because it was easier to feel hate than loss. This letter cracks my memories open like glass under pressure, the sound of his laughter in old home videos, the smell of his aftershave that lingered long after he was gone, the stories Mom told about him, carefully edited to protect me from what really happened. And now, here it is, his side of the story, written by his own hand, a confession sealed in dust and silence. He admits to mistakes that shaped more than just his life. They shaped mine too. And suddenly, the past feels alive again, crawling through every corner of this room, whispering things I thought I'd buried for good. I want to burn it. Every instinct screams to destroy this letter, to turn the words into ash and pretend I never saw them. Because if I do, maybe I can go back to believing that my pain had no explanation, that he was just cruel, careless, gone. But I also want to keep it. I want to hold it so tightly that the paper wrinkles between my fingers, because no matter how much it hurts, this is the only piece of him I have left. The only time he ever spoke to me after he left. The only time he ever said he was sorry. The rain outside has stopped, but inside, the storm has just begun. My eyes drift again to that name, the one that haunted every question I never asked, and for the first time, I wonder if forgiveness is really possible. Not the kind you say out loud, but the kind that sits heavy inside you, waiting for permission to breathe. Maybe this is where redemption begins, not in erasing the pain, but in facing it head on. If a single word ever changed your life, comment, "I understand," and tell me one word that stayed with you. Because maybe your word, your truth, could help someone else heal tonight. Sometimes we don't need the whole story. Just one word to remind us that we're not alone in the silence. I step outside because the air in that room feels too heavy to breathe. The night is cool, quiet, the kind of silence that almost hums. I close my eyes and inhale deeply, the smell of rain still lingering, mixing with the faint scent of earth and memory. For years I carried anger like armor, thick, unbreakable, something I thought protected me from pain. But now, standing here with that letter still trembling in my hands, I feel something else, something stronger than rage. It's not peace, not yet. It's an invitation, a whisper from somewhere higher, asking me to stop fighting what I can't change and to finally let go. Every word from that confession echoes in my chest, reshaping old wounds into something almost holy. I think of all the nights I spent praying without knowing what I was asking for. I used to whisper into the dark, "God, just give me a sign." But the silence always answered back. And maybe now I understand that silence was never empty. It was waiting. Waiting for this, waiting for me to be still enough to listen, because sometimes the answers we pray for don't arrive as miracles. Sometimes they arrive as letters we never expected to find, carrying the very truth we swore we didn't need. The letter isn't just a confession anymore. It's a mirror. In it, I see all the parts of myself I never wanted to face. The bitterness, the resentment, the fear that forgiveness means weakness. But maybe forgiveness isn't weakness at all. Maybe it's the bridge between who I was and who I can still become. I think about faith, not the kind that asks for proof, but the kind that holds you steady when everything else breaks. Faith in timing, faith in healing, faith that even in the darkest stories, God writes redemption between the lines. I look up at the sky, the clouds breaking open just enough for a faint light to slip through. It's quiet, but I swear I feel something, an understanding, a warmth that has nothing to do with weather. I think of how long I've been living with this weight, how many years I've built walls so high that even grace couldn't climb them. But now, those walls don't feel so solid. They tremble with every breath, every memory, every prayer I didn't think was heard. Inside, the letter waits on the table, folded but not forgotten. I can almost hear his voice in the wind, not asking for forgiveness, but offering it, offering me a choice. I walk back inside, sit down, and place the paper flat before me. My hands still shake, but not from anger anymore, from release, from something deeper than understanding. I take a pen and stare at the page for a long time, unsure if I have the right to respond, unsure if my words can undo the years between us. But then I remember what it felt like to read those first lines. If you're reading this, forgive me. And I realize that maybe he wrote them not because he thought he deserved forgiveness, but because he hoped I would deserve peace. So I write back on the same paper, in the same ink that carried his regrets. "I forgive you," I whisper as the pen moves across the page. The words feel unfamiliar at first, fragile, like glass that could break under the weight of truth. I'm done living in the dark, and as the ink bleeds into the paper, something inside me loosens. A thread pulled free after years of being tangled. The letter now holds two voices, one asking for grace, and one finally willing to give it. I sit in that moment, not as the child who was abandoned, not as the person who carried pain like a weapon, but as someone learning that letting go is not forgetting. It's remembering without bleeding. The rain starts again, soft against the window, and I think maybe this is what healing sounds like. A steady rhythm, gentle, patient, real. I don't know what comes next, but for the first time in years, I'm not afraid to find out. I fold the letter slowly, the paper soft and trembling between my fingers, as if it's alive with everything it's carried. regret, truth, forgiveness. For a moment I just stare at it, unable to decide where it belongs now. Part of me wants to keep it close, to hold on to the weight of it, because letting go feels like losing him all over again. But another part of me knows this isn't something meant to be hidden anymore. I walk back to the drawer, the same one I opened hours ago, and I place the letter inside, not as a secret, but as a memorial of freedom. It no longer represents pain, it represents release. Some truths arrive late, so late you think they'll never find you. But when they do, they arrive exactly on time. For the soul, for healing, for the quiet spaces where faith still whispers that redemption is possible. The room feels different now, lighter, as if the air itself has exhaled with me. The walls that once echoed with silence now hum with something softer, something that feels like peace. I run my hand along the edge of the drawer before closing it, and I think about how many stories, how many unsent letters, stay buried in places just like this. Maybe we all have one, a truth we're afraid to face, a forgiveness we never gave, a name we still can't say out loud. It makes me wonder how many lives could change if people stopped running from what hurts and started opening what heals. Maybe that's why you're here right now, listening to this story. Maybe this letter found you for a reason. There's something holy about honesty, even when it hurts. It strips us down, forces us to face the mirror we've been avoiding. For years I thought God's silence meant abandonment, but now I see it differently. Maybe silence was his way of keeping me still long enough to hear the truth when it finally came. Maybe every unanswered prayer wasn't a denial, but a delay, a lesson in timing. Faith and healing don't always come through miracles that flash in front of our eyes. Sometimes they come in slow revelations, in faded ink and trembling hands. And in that, there's beauty. I take one last look around the room. The rain has stopped completely now, leaving behind that clean, cold scent that only comes after a storm. The kind of air that feels new, like everything that just fell from the sky was meant to wash something away. I sit back down, not because I'm tired, but because I don't want to rush this feeling. The quiet is full, not empty. I think about every letter left unsent in this world, words written but never spoken, truths meant for someone who may never read them. And I realize this story doesn't end here, because healing isn't a period, it's a comma, a pause between who we were and who we're becoming. If this moment has reached something deep inside you, if you've ever carried your own version of a letter like this, something unsaid, something unresolved, don't keep it locked away. Share this story with someone who might need to hear it, because sometimes the right story at the right time can change everything. And before you go, I have to tell you something. That drawer didn't just hold one letter. There was another one in that room, folded, hidden, waiting for its turn to speak. I haven't opened it yet, but tomorrow we will. And what's written inside? It's from someone I loved, but didn't even know. If this story touched you, don't leave quietly. Be part of the healing. Hit subscribe right now, turn on the notifications, and comment "I'm free" if you're choosing freedom tonight. Maybe you're not there yet, and that's okay. Just write "not yet" if you're still finding your way. I'll read every word, because your story matters as much as mine. Let's fill this space with truth, with faith, with light that refuses to fade. Because somewhere out there, someone's still waiting to open their letter, and maybe your words will be the sign they've been praying for.